Hey guys, Andy back here from Mediocre Hobbies, coming at you with some more old world content. As you know, I do love the old world. It is probably my favorite game system. Currently, the one that I kind of work towards in my personal time as much as I possibly can. And when I do have time to carve out a game, I tend to want to look for someone who wants to play the old world with me. So from me, I'm a big fan. I want to continue supporting and helping this game system grow, even though it does feel like an upward struggle fighting against Games Workshop's pitiful release schedule and shocking amount of support for this game that we've currently seen. So with that out of the way, let's move on to what I'm working on today. So they finally announced and are releasing the fourth faction for the old world, which is Dwarves. We knew Dwarves were going to be coming, and they finally dropped. I, as of right now, still don't have my hands on any of the new miniatures or the books or anything just yet. I have placed an order. Unfortunately, I did miss out on the new Slayer and the new engineer character that they brought out. They sold out so quickly, so I'm going to have to wait for them to come back in. I did manage to get a shield bearer lord, and I will be doing him as a video in the very near future. But what I am going to do today is delve into the miniatures that I already own and paint one of those up. So I'm going to be painting up a rune priest or runesmith in today's video. It's one of the awesome plastic miniatures that came out. To me, it only feels like a couple of years ago, but it was a little bit longer than a couple of years ago now at this stage. So I'm going to show you guys how to paint this up in a quick and effective manner. So that means we've already done a Dwarf Lord, a Runesmith, and a Slayer on the channel so far, helping you guys get your old world armies painted up and ready for some games. So hopefully this series is helping, and hopefully you are as passionate about the old world as I am, and we're going to help us make it grow and continue to play it and hopefully get the support it deserves. Okay, let's dive in and get this model painted. Okay guys, so this is the Runesmith miniature in question. As you can see, it is still constructed on the old base, the original base that they gave us with him as he's spilling over the edge of it. Kind of a disaster. So thankfully, the new old world game has increased the base sizes to allow miniatures to rank up a little bit more easily. Now, I've been making a slight shift in my content the last couple of weeks in regards to how I'm producing my painting videos, in that talking over how exactly I'm doing the painting is fine, and I think a lot of people find that useful, and hopefully just watching me go through the steps is enough for you guys to pick up like the how-to painting. And then while I'm doing the talking over, I like to give a little background, history, and information about the miniature, the character that I'm doing. I would like to hear a little bit of kind of like feedback from you guys, whether this is a good idea, like whether you're watching this and feel comfortable being able to paint a runesmith over the top of it, or whether you think I should stop talking about their lore and background and go back to explaining each step that I'm doing in more depth. So either way, please let me know in the comments below which one of those kind of things you prefer, so I know which way around is the one to kind of go for. If it's overwhelmingly the other way, I could even re-record the voice in this particular video to go more into the painting bit. But for now, I am going to tell you guys a little bit about runesmiths, where they come from, what their purpose is, and how they work in the old world. A runesmith is a dwarf artificer who works spells with their hammercraft, binding the wings of magic into mighty runes of power. They are a suspicious lot and jealously protect the secrets kept in their anvils and hammers, guarding the knowledge that allows them to make magic items, weapons, armor, rings, and talismans of great potency than items wrought by any other mortal race upon the known world. So what role do they play in the kind of dwarf culture? The ancient guild of the runesmith is one of the oldest and most respected institutions of all the Kara's Angkor. According to legend, its origins stretch back to the days of Grungni, the great ancestor god of mining, master of the forge, and lord of the runes. The runesmiths guild claims descent from Grungni's son. For this reason, the runesmiths sometimes refer to themselves as the clan of Trungi, although they are not the only clan to claim descent from Grungni or his many sons. The number of runesmiths is not very great, and those remaining are related to each other, often in some very remote fashion. Each carries on his direct family traditions, learning the craftsmanship of blending magic and metal together to use of mighty runes of power. Runesmiths are ancient and powerful individuals. At the very least, they will have endured hundreds of years of harsh apprenticeship under the demanding eye and unforgiving hand of their forebear. Older runesmiths will have survived hundreds of years of further toil, centuries of beating runes from hot metal, and decades of searching out old secrets in the depths of lost dwarven strongholds. As a result, it is hard to imagine a tougher or more cantankerous dwarf. In battle, runesmiths aid their side by dampening enemy magic, earthing spells harmlessly before they can wreak havoc amongst the dwarves. They do this in the same manner as they capture the winds of magic to forge magic items, and they often bring along rune-covered talismans to aid in their endeavour. Many runesmiths bear weapons and armour of their own crafting, and they are eager to show their comrades exactly how effective they can be. Whether by some gift of Grunny or perhaps as a side effect of centuries of beating magical runes into white-hot metal, when a runesmith feels the rage of battle, his weapons and those of friendly forces around him begin to glow and radiate heat, as if remembering the forge fires from which they were created. This aura of power has proven effective in helping blades penetrate the armour of toughened hides of any foe. In times of great need, the most powerful rune lords will bring an anvil of doom to battle. The Anvils of Doom are the most ancient heirlooms of the entire dwarf race. They are the very anvils upon which the rune weapons of legend were forged, and were perhaps the very creations of the great forge father Grunny. The anvils are especially made to attract and hold the winds of magic, arcane powers which can be captured and subsequently unleashed by the rune lord. Separate runes struck in the right order can call upon different ancestor gods. Valeria for loyalty, Grunny to boost the power of arms and armor, and Grimnir to unlock the energies of fury. Okay, so that's a little bit of information about what a runesmith is and what kind of duties they perform on the battlefield, a little bit about their backstory. There has been dozens of miniatures to represent runesmiths, and they're all pretty much awesome. This is, of course, the plastic one that I'm doing now. This is a multi-part. You're going to have him holding a hammer up in the air, or hammer down in the air. He's got a bunch of different options. You can construct him with different heads and stuff. So if you wanted 2 runesmiths in your army, you could purchase 2 of these miniatures and they would look very different by the time you finished building them. As you can see, I did use all of these random colors to get the base coats on. We used 3 different metallics, being Lead Belcher, Rune Lord, and of course gold. We used a nice kind of purpley pink shade for the cloak and the book bindings. Guilliman Flesh for the skin. Basilicanum Grey for the beard. Obviously this guy's quite old, therefore we're going to give him a grey beard. Once all these base coats were in place, I threw a Nuln Oil all over the top of it, and obviously got the base based up the traditional way I've been doing all my old world bits and pieces. Once that shade was dry, we are left with this, which as it stands is a really nice miniature. It's a beautiful tabletop standard, and I've often thought about the idea that in army games like the old world, in which it requires quite a large number of figures, I would almost prefer to get the entire army to base coat and washed and based stage, and then after that do the layering kind of one by one. At least you would have a really nice clean looking force on the table to play games with immediately, and then pick each unit and then kind of layer it up and make it look really nice. But that's just me. Okay, so we have grabbed the first one, which is Cadian Flesh, and we are starting to layer up all of the skin. We want to leave behind lots of that nice shaded skin behind. Although having said that, we are going to be throwing another shade over the skin. It's the only part of the miniature that's going to get a double shade. But obviously the pale base coat of the Guilliman Flesh and then the black over the top of it is kind of drawn out and dulled down the skin. So we do want to make that look a little bit nicer. So that's where we bring in our Berserker Blood shade, the same color we have used for all the dwarf skin that we've done so far in the videos. I'm working from this from a wet palette, the shade, so it is slightly thinned down. And we're going to apply this on all of the skin. So just going to add a little bit of warmth, a little bit of rosiness to the skin. You know, this guy's working in forges and anvils and stuff, so it's going to be beating heat on him all the time. So he is going to be a little bit tan, a little bit more pink than a normal dwarf, I think. And as you can see, it's not a crazy standout one, or at least if the camera would focus, you would know what I mean. Once that's dried, we can then go to the final highlighted skin, which is Kislev Flesh, and go in and do some tiny touch highlights on that. Once again, the camera's misbehaving today. It does not want to focus, but we are doing our best to try and sort that out. And as you can see, I've got the finest pointed brush I've got, and a little bit of Kislev Flesh, because obviously we have to get, you know, through eye lenses and the tips of nose and lips, which are surrounded by beard, and try not to hit any of those areas when we're doing the layering process. And then of course he's got his big bare arms. We're going to go in and highlight those as well. This really is a beautiful miniature. It came out at the same time that we got Belgar. He's not even called Belgar anymore, which breaks my heart, but he's a very cool dwarf lord. We got him, we got a plastic slayer and a plastic engineer, all done at the same time. And now they're bringing out kind of another engineer and a new Slayer King, which is Ungrim. I suppose he's the old Slayer King, but it's the younger version of him. which I'm kind of excited to get my hands on. I'm really looking forward to painting him, but unfortunately he sold out before I managed to get my hands on him. Now, I don't know whether this is showing through in the audio, but the studio roof is getting absolutely bombarded with rain right now. So if you're hearing the pitter-patter of rain on top of this video, just think of it as a little bit of ambiance. You know, the dwarves marching to war, rain pattering off their armor, you know, that kind of malark. Just don't worry about it. We've gone in now, and we're just going to highlight the skin. We have a little bit of Dawnstone Grey, and we're going to go for individual strands of hair. Don't mind the little diglet popping up in the bottom left corner of the screen there. That's just my bald head peeking into frame. Don't be scared. Lead Belcher was then used, of course, to highlight all the metallic parts. As you see, I'm using Lead Belcher. And all I'm going for is like little touch highlights across all things. I quite like the darkened down, non-oiled metallics. Like, this guy forged his own armor, but he might have forged his own armor 150 years ago, for all you know, 200 years ago. So it's not exactly pristine and gleaming, although they will polish it and keep it well. I still like their armor to look a little bit weathered, a little bit more like patinaed. Just to, like, make it look more like a relic of old than just something that's like, you know, pressed off a mill and they hand out hundreds of them every day. And this guy's equipment is going to be far superior than a standard dwarf warrior on the battlefield. Which is kind of weird. He gets to just slave away all day, making himself more kind of awesome on the battlefield. Wonder how that really works. Screamer Pink was then used for, of course, his cape. Layering that up really nice. I like that rich royal purple. I do like the idea that characters should stand out a little bit more from standard dwarves on the battlefield. So standard dwarves, I think, are going to have like greens and like yellows, browns, really natural colors for their cloth. And then for me, characters are going to have those like yellows and purples and reds and blues, all those unnatural expensive dyes. Just so when you look across the sea of dwarves, the characters do stand out a little bit. It is something you need to think about a little bit when you're doing a dwarf army, is that some dwarf units look very, very similar, and sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to tell them apart on the battlefield, and especially trying to find the dwarf characters mixed in amongst units. So having them be like a little pop of color there can help your opponent and also help you remember where they are in the game, so you don't forget about them, which I have done before. As you can see, following the natural folds of this miniature and layering up all of the higher points of the fabric and leaving all the nice dark bits all shadowed and looking cool. I don't want this guy to scream. I don't want to highlight the pink any further than that. I'm already really happy with how this model is looking. Blood Angel's red contrast is what I'm going to use for the gemstones. You can use blue or green or whatever. You can go for the whole, you know, half moon, dot of white in the corner, and gloss if you want everything to pop a little bit more. I'm a little bit more of a simplistic painter. I do know how to do that and make the gemstone look really nice. I have too much else to do. I don't have time to do all the dwarf gems in my army with a couple stapes. I just throw a contrast over the top of it, and from tabletop height, it's going to look fantastic. So that's what I'm going to do. Although the placement of these particular gems kind of make it look like he has rune encrusted earmuffs on to keep his ears warm from the cold. So Celestra Grey was then bought in for the wisp of smoke coming off of the rune that is being hammered in on the anvil. Very quick step, but it looks really nice. Like I said, this is the 4th dwarf video I've done for the old world so far. This guy, we've done a lord, we've done a ranger, we've done a slayer, and we have done something else, I promise. Why can't I remember? This guy, lord, ranger, slayer. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But here he is finished. Put a few grass tufts on him. As you can see, it did not take an awful lot of time to get this guy painted up. I think he turned out great. I'm more than happy to put this guy in my army. Count myself having a Runesmith painted up and ready to go. Now I just have to really get out and get more units painted up. I have ordered Bugman on his nice little cart as well. I did manage to get that order in. So if you guys want to see that as a fun little video for a very old miniature, please do let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys are still enjoying the old world content and you are striving to get yourself armies built and painted and some games in. I don't think you'll regret it. It's such a good system and I want to promote it and support it as much as humanly possible. Onwards and upwards to the next square-based miniature that I need to paint. Okay guys, we have our Runesmith painted up and ready for the tabletop. Really nice miniature. I built this one pretty much when this miniature first came out, which I don't even want to know how many years ago that is now, and finally got him painted up and ready for some games. Really happy with the result. I'm really happy with all the dwarves that I have painted so far. That's the 4th dwarf video on the channel so far, so hopefully they're helping you guys out. If you do enjoy this video, do the thing and support all creators, which is like, comment, and subscribe. It costs you nothing. Literally not a damn thing, but it does help us out immensely. So if you do enjoy any creators' content, please do make sure you support them in that small way. Liking the video, dropping a comment if you have anything to say, and making sure you're subscribed. It does help push us out to more people and helps us grow and achieve better success. If you want to help us a little bit more, there's things like Patreon, linked down in the description below, or affiliate links if you want to buy anything from the old world or any other bits and pieces. Check out things like my Element game link down below. It costs you not a cent more, but I get a nice little kickback, so it's a win-win for both of us. Okay guys, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what else you'd like to see from the old world. I'll see you in the next one.